Did you know that the Beatles' song Help was more than just a song? John Lennon knew he was over his head. He even shared in an interview that he was crying out for help. For real. Well, before we get to what to do when you need help, welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Believe it or not, we all need help. And that's why my goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know him personally and better. So if the things we talk about today speak to your heart, can you please help me? Please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. You know, you'd think that having your cry for help become the #1 song in both the US and the UK for 3 weeks in a row would communicate the message. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the ocean heard the song. Many memorized it. Folks would sing along while it played on their radios. They heard it. They just didn't listen. Because if they had, the message couldn't have been more clear. Help. I need somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Help. You know, I need someone. Help. Now, in case the opening verse somehow slipped by unnoticed, Lennon doubled down on his message. Help me if you can. I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? And the flip side of the single was a song called I'm Down. Yeah, another cry for help. Well, it would be another 15 years before John Lennon would discuss that in an interview. The meteoric rise of the Beatles' popularity was just beyond his comprehension. That's how he described it. It had overwhelmed him, and he said he was crying out for help subconsciously in the only way he knew how. And the masses heard the words and missed the message. Today's verse says, the Spirit helps in our weakness. You know, sometimes getting help when you need it is not a function of how many people you ask. It's a matter of asking the right one. You've got to ask someone who's actually listening. God hears and listens. And then God responds. He gives power to the ones who are fainting with fear and weakness. Power to hold on to him, follow his direction, regain their footing, get their feet back on the ground. And to those who have no might at all, he increases their strength. In every situation, the power and strength of God is available to anyone who'll ask. It may be strength to press through a crushing situation, or the power to live through it with grace, or even the power to die well. But whatever the situation is, the one who turns to God will find that the Spirit helps us in our weakness. You know, often he uses his followers to be his eyes and ears, his hands and feet. And if you are a true follower of Jesus, you are his body here on earth, and you have his Spirit within you. And we who follow him, if the truth be told, often feel overwhelmed by the same life battles. I mean, sometimes we wonder how God could use us to help anyone, since we have such inner struggles ourselves. But for us, the same promise holds true. The Spirit helps us in our weakness too. It's with his power and provision that he sends us into the world. Well-known author A.W. Tozer said, God's looking for people through whom he can do the impossible. What a pity that we plan only the things we can do by ourselves. Hey, let's not limit our reach to the things that we can touch in our own strength. Yeah, the world needs more help than that. They need the love of God. They need the power of his Spirit flowing through his hands and his feet. That's us. If we're his ears, don't we need to listen? The cries for help are all around us. Sometimes in the number one song on the radio. But more often, it's in the driveway next door or in the booth behind us in a restaurant. Are you listening? And when you hear the cry for help, will you respond in your strength or in his? The Spirit helps. Invite him. Hey, if we're his eyes, are they open? The waitress working on New Year's Day in Orlando restaurant a year or so ago had her eyes open, even though she was tired, taking care of the final table of a long and very busy day. But the boy sitting at the table with two adults and a young girl was wearing a mask. Not an uncommon thing during the COVID crisis. But the waitress noticed a large scratch between his eyebrows. And then noticed that the adults didn't order food for him. And when she noticed the bruising on the side of his face and his arm, she decided to act. Standing behind the adults so they couldn't see, she held up a note that read, "Do you need help?" When the boy nodded, she alerted the manager and they called the police. It saved the boy's life. But both waitress and manager gave credit to God for their actions. See, the Spirit had helped them in their weakness. Hey, if you need help, message me. I serve a big God, and he cares about you. Be as smart as the Beatles. Call for help when you need it. And if you're a Jesus follower, who will you see today that needs you to be God's hands? When cries for help reach your ears, will you hear them? Don't get distracted by the music. Listen to the message. Because the Spirit helps us in our weakness. All of us. Hey, as we wrap up, I'd like to say, help, I need somebody. Not just anybody, I need you. Will you help me introduce people to the Jesus they never knew? And help them get to know him and his word personally and better? Please like this video. It'll help more people see it. And then click follow or subscribe so you and I can get together every day. I really want to get your message in the comments section today. Let me know if you need help, or if you're available to help someone else, or if the message today really touched your heart. Of course, it's also a great place to leave a question. But one more thing, please make sure you share today's message with a friend. Because as you do, you're part of the team helping share the love of Jesus all over the world. Thanks for helping.